Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to make the score system. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll go to the main scene and here I'll click on 3D in order to get to my viewport. Let me just minimize this. To make the scoring system, so before that, we need to understand how the score is actually working. So it's basically a kind of a mini survival game where you have to make the ball being inside the screen, and the score is not how many times you space pressed, but the score is actually how many seconds you survived. Okay, so your score is going to be increased by one every second. So that is the logic. So see, whenever you are making a game, you have to break your requirements into more simpler requirements, and then take out your logic from that, because that will help you a lot while building your algorithm for making any game. And based on simple algorithms, you will just combine these to make any complex functionality. So now, if we have to increment the score by 1 second until the game over has been done. So what we have to do is we have to check every second if the player is alive, and if the player is alive, then we have to increment the score by one. Okay, so in order to do that, let's just create a empty node, and here this one I will just name this one as the score manager. So it's nothing but basically a component of my game which manage the score. So it is going to handle all the score related scripts. So let me just add a script to it and go to the scripts folder, and here let me just say score manager.gd. Yeah, so this name defines what this script is going to do. So here for now I'll just remove this, and here let me just add in a variable called let's say player score, and I'm going to give it a type of int. And then in my ready function I am going to basically set this score, give it a score, this value 0. So now my basic function is ready. So basically I have to uh, increment the score by one every second. So I could have gone to the update function and check for the delta time, and then check if the 1 second has elapsed, then I can add in the score. But again, luckily Godot engine has given us a very nice simple node for that, which is known as the timer node. So I'll just add this timer node, and I'll make this a child of the score manager, since our score manager is directly dealing with this timer. So let's just rename this node as the score timer. And again, this is going to be like we have to give it these settings. So wait time, so basically wait time is until when this timer has to fire the event. So we want this to fire the event every 1 second, so obviously we have to set this wait time to 1s. Now one shot means that this timer will run only once. Okay, but we don't want this. We want this timer to run every 1 second. So I'll just make sure that this one shot is unchecked. Again, auto start is that I want to make this timer start automatically whenever this game runs. So yes, I want it. So I'll just make sure that auto start is turned on, and I'll press Ctrl S again, and now I have to attach its signal. So whenever 1 second is out, there is a function called timeout which will fire. So I'll just double click in order to attach it, and now I have to select my score manager node, since I want to attach this function over here, and I'll press connect. So now my function has been added, and again we will just replace this pass and we'll print something just to check if our node is working properly or not. So Score has to, okay, it's going too big. Let's make it score increase. All right, so let's hit play and let's see score increase, score increase, score increase, score increase. So this function is firing every 1 second. So this is working fine. Now, essentially what we have to do is we have to increase the score. So let's do that. So player score plus equals to 1. Okay. And let's say I want to print it. So player score is and str to convert this int to string and hit Control S and then run. Okay, player score is 1, 2, 3, and now you can see the player score is working fine. So one last thing that I have to, check this player score. I have to make this player score increase only until the game over is not triggered. Okay, so whenever the game over is triggered, I have to make this score system stop. Okay, now there is a requirement to connect all these components together. Okay, what I am trying to explain here is the this thing. I mean, whenever the ball is going outside the screen, I am printing the game over. Okay, well, whatever the score is, I'm printing that. But these two are separate components. They don't know about each other. But when we build a game, we have to, connect some components together. So how do we do that? So we can easily, what we can do is in the main game node, that is my main node for my entire game. Here I'm going to attach a script, basically create a script, and let me go to the scripts and let me go and give this a name of game controller. So it is going to act as a single central controller for everything, for all the components. Okay, so now here what I am going to do is I am going to remove all this, and here let me just say this one like where let's say is player alive, and let's give it a value of bool, sorry, the type of bool. And then in my ready function I'll just set this is player alive to true, since our player is obviously alive at the beginning. Now in order to I want to create some functions wherein I can define to make this get this value, whatever value. Let's say that in the score manager, I want to check if my player is alive or not. So I want to access this value. So one way is I can access this directly, but that is not the correct standard. So as per the standard, we have to create a function. So let's say that let's create a function is player alive. Okay, and this is going to return is player alive. Okay, now there is one thing. I have defined my function. I have defined my return. So basically, whatever the value true or false, it's going to be returned to whoever calls this function. But this function still feels very, this function does not feel very descriptive, because I'll just actually let me just show you this. I'll go to this one, and over here I have to check this function. So I will check if, and I have to basically access this node script, right? So what I can do is either I can enter dollar and I can say main game like this, or what simply I can do is I can simply drag it over here and I can drop it like this. So dollar this inverted comma and double dot, that means that it is accessing the main node, okay, the root node of our current scene. Dot get sorry, is player, okay, it's not coming, so I'll just say is player alive, and if this is true, then I am going to print this. So let me hit play and let's see. Player score is 1, player score is 2, player score is 3. So like this, it is working because this function is basically getting accessed from here. Okay. Now, whenever I trigger the game over event, I want to make a function which sets this value as false because the player has obviously died. So let's do that. So let's create a function called game over, sorry, like this, and I'm only going to set this that is player alive is going to be false in this case. Now I will switch to the player controller, and over here wherever I am passing this, so here I am going to make it here like this, and I am going to call the game over function like this. So let's just hit play and let's see what happens. So I'll try to control this ball, and you can see my score is getting increased. Now I'll leave this and let me just say game over, and now you will see that my score is stuck to 9. Okay. So that's how we have defined the central controller, and now we have defined the score manager itself. So one last thing that we have to do now here is, since my component is working fine, and since right now as you can see this is added as the in the as a child of this root component. So what I can do is I can easily separate out this component right within here. So all I have to do is right click this one, and from here I have to save branch as scene. I have to click on this save branch as scene, and from here I'll go to the components, and here I'll just type in score manager and I'll hit save. So now you'll see this icon over here. So this is basically telling you that this is now converted to a separate scene. Okay. So my score manager is now working and all the functionality is working fine. So in the next video, we are going to start working with the UI system in Godot engine. So see you in the next one.